Um, Something that other survivors said, um, that really confused me. Well, it really baffled me, and like my mind couldn't believe it. Um, Still has trouble believing it. Is when they said, the narcissist or the psychopath or whatever, sociopath, one of those, uh, they need you more than you need them. And if you've been in a, a position like I was growing up, you find that really hard to believe because they treat you like they don't need you. They treat you like you're a piece of shit. uh, so, and they treat you like you're a burden or some, you know, waste of flesh. Like they treat you terribly. And so when I heard that from other survivors that got away, that they uh, that these entities need you more than you need them, it really confused me. But today I started thinking about it and being like, every psychopath or narcissist needs a punching bag of some kind. They need a punching bag of some kind. They have to have it. And that was definitely my position they put me in. And so I started to realize that uh, they struggle with that, without that punching bag. They really do need that human punching bag, whether it's verbal or emotional or physical or sometimes sexual. Uh, they need that target. They need that person that can take the abuse, the damage that they dish out. They need that individual. And then it started to click today. I'm like, that's one of the reasons why they needed me more than I needed them, because uh, I didn't use them as a punching bag. I didn't call them names like they called me. I didn't treat them like they were mentally ill like they did me. Um, so there is some truth to that. Like, I don't need them as a punching bag, but they needed me as a punching bag. So they're if I think about it like that, I'm like, they really did need me, to take their damage, to take their guilt, to take their everything that's wrong with them. They needed to dish it out on somebody. They need that individual. Uh, it's not like they can dish it out to um a like a wall or uh a TV, or you know what I mean? Like, they need to dish it out on another human. For for some reason, there has to be that scapegoat human to dish it out on for the psychopath, and that's when it kind of clicked. It's like they can't take their frustration out on like a tree, or something like that. It has to be another human, like a scapegoat human. They have to sacrifice a human. They have to dish it out on another human. And um, in that sense, it just kind of clicked today. I'm like, they really do need that human punching bag to take out all their issues out on, to take out all their anger out on. Without that individual to take the damage, and uh, they self-destruct. They self-destruct without that individual to uh, verbally abuse, mostly emotionally abuse too. Uh, so they need that individual to mess with. And it's a shitty thing to realize that that's all you were to them. Just something to dish their shit on, but it's the reality um, of these psychopath entities. Um, but anyways, like, I can like identify these narcissists, psychopaths, even in movies, easier now. I can identify them easier. Like I was watching American Beauty uh last night, and one of the couples, like the main couple with Kevin Spacey, that kind of reminded me of my parents a little bit, you know. The false image to the public, it's a commercial. It was crazy, like uh how Kevin Spacey just kind of says how it was. And that's how my parents were. It was just selling an image like a commercial, a false image it was a show. And it was crazy. I'm like, that was my parents. It was just a show, a fake image. That's all it was. Um, and but anyways, other than that, uh, I could tell that Kevin Spacey is a narcissist. He's a pretty obvious one. Um, so like it's easier to spot him like in movies, um, just by the way they act. It's kind of crazy, but yeah. Well, I can see why a lot of narcissists go into acting and the Hollywood, is because that's what they're really good at. They're really good at acting. Um, but anyways, I'll have to watch that movie again. It was a pretty crazy movie. Um, but it did remind me of my parents. It totally reminded me of my parents. Uh, but but the wife was actually more like my dad. How the wife was all really robotic and like fake as hell. Like image of perfection. It kind of reminded me of my father. You know. Um. But anyways, but yeah, it just kind of clicked a little more today of like how they needed me more than I needed them, because you wouldn't think that in my position. You wouldn't think that at all. Growing up in my position, that they needed me more than I needed them. Like they 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 treated me like they wish I didn't exist. They treated me like I was the fuck up. They treated me like I was the most evil, mentally ill person on the fucking planet. They treated me like, you know what I mean? Like even silently treating me like making me feel like a leper. They made me feel like a leper, around them. just like I didn't know what to do to like impress these people or win their affection or win their validation. I tried everything to, be a successful person in life, and it was never enough. Never enough. So don't even put in the effort of trying to like win their approval or try to impress them because you won't. You never will. You could uh, work yourself to the grave, work yourself to the bone, you know, trying to impress them, and it still wouldn't be enough, and it isn't enough. But they're not that impressive themselves when you really dissect them and you really evaluate their behavior, and just they don't go through shit. They just sit back like they're king of the castle. Uh they don't really suffer that much. Well, I don't know, like just being themselves probably suffered inside their heads, but being all paranoid and anxious all the time. But I noticed that their paranoia and anxiousness kind of rubbed off on me for a while. But it's not as bad now. But yeah. Um, but it is kind of interesting. It is kind of interesting to hear that they needed me like a parasite host. They needed me as a host, like parasites to a host, basically, to feed on, to prey on, to to uh to slander, everything. They needed that host, individual, they're like symbiotes, or something, like they really are like parasite symbiotes. But I never would have thought that, just the way they talked and the way they treated me, the way they acted, you never would have thought that they actually needed you more than uh you needed them. They never said one time that they needed me. I need you. You know what I mean? Like you're not crazy. You're important. You're awesome. You're not, I never heard these things, from them. You never hear those things. They can't admit that they need you, that you're better than them, that you're, uh, I don't know, they just never said those nice things. You know what I mean? Uh, they can't actually admit it, but they do need you. It's kind of weird. It's like a parasite that's afraid to admit that they need the host. It's kind of crazy. But anyways, the whole experience is a mind screw, and I admit that the whole from birth to now, the whole thing's been a mind screw. The whole thing, because like uh for the most part, for most of my life it was backwards, in my head. I thought they convinced me that I was all these bad things, and so I thought I was all these bad things, and they were right, and there was nothing wrong with them. They were the normal ones in society. It was always backwards in my head, and so now it's like reversing it. I have to reverse it. That they were the screwed up ones. They were they were the psychopaths the whole time. It's like reversing everything. Like it's fucking tough on the mind to reverse all that shit, you know, because you get so used to being the rebel or the bad guy or the troublemaker, or no matter what you do, you get used to that. But it's like topsy turvy, of to retrain your brain and reprogram your brain. It's like topsy turvy. um, that you were actually in the midst of psychopaths the whole time, you know. You were just surrounded by narcissists the whole time, you know. And that's the reality, is you were surrounded uh, by these dangerous personalities. You know, I knew they were dangerous, but I didn't know how dangerous, you know, on a scale of what the FBI says. You know, the FBI profilers say they're make them sound way more dangerous than I thought. You know what I mean? Way more dangerous than I thought. But I can see that. I can see looking back now. Yeah, yeah. They were that dangerous. They were on a pretty dangerous level. But anyways, um, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm in the clear yet of all of them. You know, I've been no contact for about a true no contact for like 6 months with family, so it hasn't been very long. So um I know the biggest Hoover attempt is after they realize there's a no contact called the Grand Hoover, and I know that can be a very long siege, and I know that's kind of why I'm in a place where they don't know where I sleep right now. You know, that's kind of why, is for that reason, is so I can outlast the Grand Hoover siege attempt, you know, because it can be a long siege, you know, of the Grand Hoover before they uh, call it quits, I heard. Well, I read. Um, because I read from a narcissist perspective and from uh, a survivor's perspective, you know what I mean? What to expect. Um, because there is a narcissist that that writes books um for therapy, because um I don't know, he kind of got caught, I guess, uh criminally. And so um you know, sometimes these narcissists actually get caught, you know, um with what they're doing to people intentionally. And but it is hard for them to get caught because uh they never really turn themselves in. I mean, they never get help. They never get diagnosed because they think they're perfect. Um, they think they're God on the earth, basically. Uh, and so yeah, they're not ever gonna feel guilt for anything they do. They never felt guilt for what they did to me. Not even for a second. Nothing. Not even the physical stuff. The physical stuff, they felt nothing. No, no guilt, no remorse, no apology, nothing. So I just thought it was I thought it was just normal, but I can see it like in a normal household that's not really normal, to not feel guilt of any kind, to not feel remorse of any kind, uh to not even feel sorry for anything you do. You like, that isn't normal human. That's not a normal human right there. So both my parents right there, just off a couple of examples, not normal humans. But at least I know there's no cure for them. Um, so that makes it easier to walk away. Um, no matter how they pretend, you know, that they're doing good and all that stuff, at least I know there's no cure. Uh, there's never, um, uh, there's never been a cured narcissist, basically. You know what I mean? Um, so, anyways, like there's never been a narcissist, a former narcissist that says, I was a former narcissist and I was diagnosed, and now with the evaluation of all these psychiatrists, psychologists, and they know that I'm not tricking them, they know it's authentic, they know I'm really fixed, they say I'm cured, I'm proving that I'm cured, I'm acting like a normal human, I feel empathy for real, I actually, and you can see that they're really feel guilty for all they've done. Like it's real. Like you don't see that case. You don't see that example anywhere. You know what I mean? You never see that. You've never seen that cured psychopath. You've never seen that cured narcissist ever. You know what I mean? They just go on to make movies. And just become movie actors, because there's no cure for them, so they can only do movies. Anyways, but it makes me think twice. Like I used to idolize like certain actors and stuff, but now I'm just like, it's just a narc. You know what I mean? It's kind of weird. Like a lot of people like idolize these individuals, growing up, and then once you realize they're just a narc and just a piece of shit, you're just like, fuck, you know. So just a narc. I mean, they may play a good role in a 2-hour movie or something, and a good story and everything, but in real life they're just a narc, and you're just like, fuck. Why did I idolize a narc? Uh, Not even a real human. So, anyways, I hope you're doing good out there, and I know I always say that, but anyways, uh, I don't know what the future holds. Like I'm kind of playing things by ear a little bit, because I didn't think I would get this far. Personally, I didn't think I'd get this far, at least away, you know. Um, so, um, I still have a ways to go to like get all the mind fuckery out of my head, but because it was a lot. It was a lot, you know. So, and getting away from a network of these individuals is very difficult when they claim they're your family. They use that family card against you, so they can abuse you more. They kind of use that family aspect weapon to keep them in your life, to give them the right to abuse you, the family card. So don't you gotta dissolve that family idea. You gotta dissolve that out of your head. Don't let them use that family card. Get to a point where they're just a bunch of strangers that you don't even know, and they're like nobody in your head, you know which is pretty much what they were anyways. Growing up with just a bunch of strangers in the house, basically, is how it felt, like a bunch of empty people around me, just uh, playing pretend, with everybody, and just fucking hell. Such a mind screw. Such a mind screw. But anyways, um, I'm just enjoying nature right now. I think nature is pretty healing, after surviving this craziness. Um, yeah, just getting in touch with nature a little more. Um, I know a lot of people make fun of the tree huggers and stuff, but I think the people that make fun of the tree huggers are just a bunch of narcs, anyways, just a bunch of mechanical narcs, anyways, that don't care about anything, so who cares what they think? Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.